Hello everybody, this is Psycho Break along with
Tojo.
And today we're doing our review on Heels episode 6 called House Show.
House Show.
House Show. And basically this episode starts off with a flashback where Willie is basically taking a look and she's seeing what looks to be, what was the father's name?
Tom Spade.
Tom Spade. And he's sitting there in his chair talking about how he's running in debt. I think that's what it was, wasn't it? He was like reflecting on that.
Basically, he was talking about how they might be winning as far as people being happy, but they're not really making enough money to stay out of too much debt.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be getting by. It's another thing to be going into debt.
Yeah. So that kind of makes me think that, yeah, everybody was happy, but financially and stuff, he's pretty much losing his butt on this one.
Yeah, it was.
The transition from that was actually pretty good because then it goes to where she's looking on that, sipping on a straw or whatever it is she was drinking, and to looking at the chair, and then he just disappears, and she goes back and looks out of the office, and you see where the arena is and stuff, and that was a pretty cool transition.
Yeah, and to me, whenever you get to see these flashbacks like that, it gives you more about the backstory.
Yeah.
So it all just kind of adds up and adds up. Like we said, this is episode 6. There's only, 8 for this 8 for the season?
Yeah, so yeah, this is kind of getting to it's almost over.
Yeah, which I'm kind of sad about, but
the only thing I know for certain is that the last episode is called Double Turn. And that's about it. That's all we know about the last episode, the name of it. But
yeah, we're believing that it's going to be the episode where they're actually at the state fair.
Yeah, because that's what it's building at. This is supposed to be the big payoff. Also, behind the scenes, the wrestlers are doing their rehearsing and stuff. And there was something you brought out that was a pretty good point about this being called a house show episode.
They calling it House Show as the name of the TV episode, but yet there was no wrestling or anything there.
Yeah.
And in wrestling, a house show is an event where you may not record it for video or internet or anything like that. You're just doing it for the fans in attendance.
Yeah. Kind of like the Big E versus Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns triple threat that was done tonight and stuff at a house show event. That probably the only way you can find it is on YouTube.
Pretty much, yeah.
But anyways, on that, the other big thing that's going on is that meanwhile he's trying the father Jack, not Tom, but the son. You start seeing flashbacks of the son
with him and his dad at his brother's 8th birthday party.
Yeah,
and his brother Ace is throwing the ball and everything with his friends, playing a little game of flag football, which I think most of us has done in the past.
Football was fun. I like flag
football.
I
enjoyed it.
The thing is though, then it veers back from the television, and you see that it's Ace watching the video. It's not Jack, and Ace is really pretty much all caught up into memory lane, pretty much.
Yeah. Then he hears something outside. He goes down into the basement, and his mom is basically taking everything that was his dad's out to donate.
Yeah, and he's like, Mom, this is Dad's stuff. What are you doing? She's like, I'm getting rid of it. He says, what if I want it? And she said, well, he didn't leave it to you.
That's a big sock right there.
Yeah, that was kind of harsh in its essence there. So you got that. Now, as this is going on, though, you're kind of getting little bit and pieces of why Tom did what he did. But Tojo C actually got a good idea of what it was after it ended and explained it to me. I'll let him get into that when we get close to wrapping it up. But so.
Oh, I want to mention this because this is about the same time that all this is going on.
Yeah.
Ace gets a phone call from their friend from their friend that retired from the wrestling, and now has a little baby girl, and Ace is going to be one of the godparents. The guy tells him he has to say something at the beginning of the service to kind of introduce his goddaughter.
Mm-hmm.
And Ace is like, I don't know what to say. And he's told, just treat it like it is wrestling. These good guys, bad guys, all that kind of stuff. Just don't suplex the pastor.
Yeah. And it's kind of confusing because when you think about it, there's Billy and Bobby. Bobby's the one that got hurt. Billy is the one that's actually running this thing with the kid and everything. So we got that set up. Meanwhile, you have where the wife is working on some music that she's wanting to share with Jack. And Jack, apparently this is supposed to be a big deal because she only done 2 songs.
This is the first song she's done since their wedding.
Yeah, because I don't need to finish my sentences. And so for her to do this, it's a big deal. So she didn't want him to miss that. And immediately, we'll get into that too, but immediately when she said that and they were emphasizing how important it was for him not to miss it, we kind of figured
yeah, you kind of knew that's going to happen.
That was going to happen. But so she's singing the song to, was it Shelby?
Yeah, the little girl's named Shelby.
And stuff. That's what that's set up for. Meanwhile, you also have where Wild Bill is giving a heads up to Jack, who's getting ready to do a podcast with the guy named Dick, who happens to be
Mick Foley.
And he tells him before he does the podcast, says, "Look, you need to watch out for this guy because he is a snake, and stuff like that." And pretty much Jack is pretty much
it takes one to know one,
right? And it's pretty much shoves him to the basically like his advice didn't mean anything. It's basically the way he's acting. And what does he find out?
And whenever he gets into the office to do the podcast and everything, it's supposed to be all about promoting for the event with the state fair, but yet Dick ends up turning it back on to the father's suicide and about what all's been happening with his brother and all that stuff. So he's showing his true colors at that point.
With that being said, when he says that, Jack says, "Wait a minute, I thought we was going to talk about the state fair," and he says
that this is pretty much a no-holds-barred podcast.
Yeah, and that's an hour long, and they'll get to that eventually.
Yeah, which whenever he said that, we all knew that Jack was going to miss the baptism.
Yeah. Not only that, but we knew that Jack was probably going to end up saying, "Forget this," and leaving.
Yeah.
So while that's going on, you also got reflection going on with Ace. What else happened in that thing? You got where the guys are kidding in the locker room about Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And one that's in the wheelchair, Bobby, is pretty much getting confused about Apocalypse and Rapture and all this other stuff.
And then Diego brings up why men have nipples, and that's
really
a big laugh fest on what all they end up saying on there. We're not going to go in detail.
Yeah.
Just watch it because it is funny. Now, before all this happened, Rooster met with the promoter for the other little wrestling federation that is opposing Duffy.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't walk away with a good taste in his mouth from the meeting.
Not a good taste at all. Matter of fact, he actually got highly offended when the promoter got up and actually threw $1,000 pretty much on the table, and Rooster pretty much told him what?
Basically, he's not a stripper.
Yep. And the promoter was like, I've never been to stripper. I believe in treating women with class. And he's like, he says, if I'm anything, I'm part Irish. And he says, and I never come alone or something like that. And by that time he says that, the dudes in these, Escalade or something?
Yeah, like a big SUV.
Yeah.
Guy gets out of the passenger seat.
He picks up the money.
And he says, pick up the money. He goes pick up the money, gets in the back seat of the car. And they just drive off, which, I mean, it's kind of cool that the other organization is looking to hire Rooster, but it's kind of terrible at the fact that they're going about it all wrong, going behind everybody's back.
Yeah, because the promoter pretty much told Rooster, said, you're showing loyalty to a company that doesn't show loyalty to you. And not only that, before we get into all, we're going the right pace, right stone thing.
Yeah, Rooster's been trying to get a hold and talk to Jack about not just where he's going to be at in the state fair, but about his character in general and what's going to happen with him going forward in the DWL. And Jack basically keeps blowing him off and tells him, talk to me at the party after the baptism.
Which he keeps putting him off regardless, because in every episode he's been brushing him off. So you kind of get an idea at the end of this episode, though, that Rooster might be going somewhere else. Just because he tries one last time to talk to Rooster before the baptism, and he pretty much...
Yeah, Jack just blowing him off, and that's just not showing loyalty to your employees, to your friends, family, because they call themselves a family, and you should at least hear them out.
Meanwhile, Crystal is having conflict with what's going on because she's been told that it's her fault that Bobby got a broken leg, and as well as Ace is having conflict on letting his emotions get the best of him. While they're getting ready, this sets up for when the actual baptism happens, right?
Yes.
Doing the right pace.
And whenever the song is sung and Ace gets up, deliver his little speech to introduce baby Selby and everything, that's when Jack finally gets there. So he pretty much caught the tail end of the baptism, and his wife is not happy about it.
Yeah, it's not in the fact that he didn't try, because he was heading there, but I think he left a little bit too late, because on the road he went to, there was a truck that jackknifed. So because of that, he had to go a whole nother way, which pretty much ended him being able to see that.
Yeah, he probably could have got there on time if it wouldn't have been for the accident. Yeah.
So then they do that, and they're at the part where now that's been done. Good words said by Ace and stuff. Now they're at the food part where Bobby is getting his food, has crutches and stuff, of course.
Now, before we get to that, let's say this, because Ace was not ever wanting to apologize for what he did, really, but Billy ends up telling him that's not the way Jack wrote it, and for you not to apologize, basically telling his best friend, the godfather of his child, that that's just not being doing right by him. If he's a fellow wrestler, he should at least apologize for injuring him, whether it was on purpose or not. He should at least apologize.
Right.
So Ace feels guilty and tries to help Bobby while he's getting his food.
Yeah, that's right. And then Crystal, when the midst of him happened, the funniest part though is when Ace is helping him put on the barbecue thing. He says, "Do you want anything on it?" He goes, "Yeah." Bobby goes, "Yeah, that ranch." And he looks and says, "Just tell me when." And he doesn't tell them when. He just keeps pouring. He's like, "On your corn too?" He goes, "Yeah, I like ranch on everything." And then that was pretty cool. But as he's starting to kind of humble himself to what's going on, Crystal shows up and things get awkward, kind of.
Yeah, things get kind of awkward because he already apologized to Bobby and everything before they started walking back towards the table. But when Crystal shows up, it gets awkward because he ends up getting the plate and walking with Bobby to the table. So Ace is probably thinking, well, if they wasn't together before, they're definitely together now.
Yeah, and then after that happens, it shows a scene where they're in the
house and everything, and everybody's pretty much left. It's just
Ace and Crystal,
Billy and his wife, and of course their baby Selby.
Yeah.
Ace and Crystal, and the mother says her arms are both pretty much asleep and holding the baby so long. So Crystal holds the baby, and then all of a sudden Ace says, "You mind if I hold her?" But he looks at him and says, "Well, you're the godfather, for Christ's sake. You're welcome to hold her." Ends up Crystal giving the baby over to Ace. And what's so funny about it is Billy ends up saying, "Make sure you support her neck and her head. We need her to grow up smart. Sees the future."
Yeah. I think he even referenced the last name of the baby or something.
Yeah.
Or something. But yeah, so that was done. Then finally, when they're outside and stuff, he walks, Ace walks Crystal to her car, or to her Jeep, I should say, and he pretty much apologizes. Speaking of apologies, after that's said and done, that kind of gets left. We go with where Wild Bill and
ends up surprising Willie, because she just went to basically turn off all lights and everything at the Dome, because they had a jury expo thing there during that day. But Wild Bill comes in there, surprises her, and goes to start to apologize, but doesn't really apologize. Just say that he was wrong for saying what he said. That's basically all he's saying. Willie gets fed up with it, starts to head out towards her vehicle. Wild Bill races after her, and finally we learn more about what really happened.
Yeah, the fact that there was two actually to blame in the relationship there. Pretty much the reason why Wild Bill is like he was, or even got this character that he had, was how he was treated by Willie.
Yeah, Willie was with Wild Bill in a relationship and everything, and then she decided that it'd be better for her future to become the valet for Jack when she was already the valet for Wild Bill. So she does that, and then eventually ends up making the relationship sour, kicks Wild Bill out, and that's what basically added fuel to the fire for Wild Bill. And that's the reason why he never came back to help the company originally whenever he started to get famous himself. They finally both apologized to each other for everything over the years. And she left not saying anything, which made me think that they both got a lot off of their chest.
Yeah, the other thing is too is that, you know, she's still, hopefully this kind of eases the conflict and stuff of what's going on there, because in all honesty, they need Wild Bill in this, because he's got the fortitude, which also brings us to the fact that in a way that the wife to Jack at this point comes to the scene, and she's basically just wanting to find her purpose, her place.
Yeah, she says that she has a place whenever they are together as a family, but whenever it's her by herself, she never really found her place, because during the baptism, the preacher asked for them to think of a moment whenever they felt fulfilled, and she said, I never really felt that way, because whenever their son ended up going to school and everything, she pretty much stayed home and never really ended up getting a hobby or anything like that that would make her have that fulfillment.
Yeah.
And her and Jack had a good talk, and I believe that is something that will help both of them in the future, not only in their relationship, but also in the show. And basically, that's pretty much what all happened on as far as our review. Before we get to what we thought about the rating and everything, I want to go in and apologize if we're not as energetic as we were the last couple of times. It is late. He has to get up early to go to work in the morning. I'm tired myself, so.
Yeah, we just also got done too, not too long ago at 7 o'clock, watching the Impact pay-per-view called Victory Road, which in itself will, if we even decide to review that or talk about that, but that in itself was decent. It was good.
He wasn't invested in it because he didn't know the characters or anything as much like I did,
but all in all, this did tie in some stuff. And matter of fact, now that we're at this part, what was the epiphany that you got when Ace turned on the video camera again at the VCR where it ended?
Okay, whenever he turned the video camera on at the end of the show, it was where the mom was filming everything, but then she had the camera on Tom. And Tom said that he's going to be, basically, he's going to be the one to stand out. He's going to be the one to have a killer football career, not only in high school, but go to college and end up having a killer career in the NFL. And he said that that is his destiny. When he said that, it showed Ace crying, because Ace never really saw that, I don't think. I don't really believe he ever did. But that's where it got to me that, because that's the end of the show, but it got to me everything that went on. Whenever Tom did end up killing himself, he made sure Ace was there and everything, and I believe it was because he felt bad because Ace did not fulfill his destiny, so Tom felt some guilt about it.
Oh, because he wasn't able to because of the lack of money, because all the money was drained into that
Well,
organization.
not just that, but also because we already know from previous episodes where Ace did have a football career and was injured and wasn't able to continue playing. That's the reason why he got into the wrestling. And I think that's really what got to both his dad, Tom, and to Ace, and to Jack also, because during this entire episode, you're hearing how much people think Jack is like his father.
Anger-wise.
When it comes to the anger, and also with the dictatorship of my way or the highway.
Yep.
And I think this episode at the end, everybody's kind of reflecting on all their decisions they made throughout their life. And I'm not trying to be heavy about it, but I mean, I honestly believe that what Ace said during the introduction of the Goddaughter was right, that we all write our life stories. Some chapters are good, some chapters are bad. And I really do believe that. But for now, we're going to go ahead and give our reviews on a 1 to 5 scale. I'm going to give this a 4 because it did reveal a lot of the backstories. So that's the only reason why I'm giving it a 4.
All right, I'm going to give it a 4 as well, because it kind of sets up about this state fair, because at the end of this, it pretty much lets you know that this is going to make or break the DWF, or DWL, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Meantime, though, as we say that, though, hopefully on this next episode, we get to see just how good. I'm thinking we're going to see a lot of guest appearances from other wrestlers like Stevie Richards and all them.
Yeah, because we've already saw Mick Foley, we already saw CM Punk, and hopefully we'll get to see a few more wrestlers that we grew up knowing and enjoying to watch and everything.
All right, guys. Well, that's been our take on The Heels, episode 6. We appreciate you. Also want to thank, if you haven't had a chance to check out the video called Triggered, definitely check that one out. Want to give a shout out to Big Bus for that. And anyways, we just want to thank you. We're also, before we end this, Tojo, don't you have something that you want to mention about some merch that we're possibly going to be looking at?
Well, we printed off a couple of our logos that we were going to try to show you. And we got some shirts ordered that we'll be getting Monday. And we'll definitely put them on YouTube. That way you can see what they look like. And if you want to order one, you're more welcome to. We actually saw some feedback from one of our Heels reviews the other day that I don't remember who it was that gave us a comment about it, but they said that they are enjoying it, not just the show, but enjoying what's in our reviews of it. And I would like to thank that individual.
Yeah, for real. They also gave feedback on the Daphne tribute, which turns out they saying that they were good friends with her on Facebook.
Yeah, on Facebook or MySpace one. I don't remember which one it was, but
one of the two.
Probably MySpace from back in the day, but still, just to be able to have people commenting on our stuff, that makes us feel real good. I'm going to show you my artwork first because I only have one.
Yeah, okay. So while we're showing this, while he's getting this out and ready, basically what the reason we did this is because we wanted to see what they would look like on stuff before we actually got ready to try to actually put them on stuff, because we wanted to see what we could do. Now this is an 8x10, right?
Yes.
And what the thing around it is, I think, is paint.
I got the paint border.
Yeah, the paint border, and that is so that is one of them right there. We just want to see what they look like before we started actually spending money on like metal tins and stuff. This is the 8x10, and this, of course, I don't know who this is. Oh, it's Psycho Break. But yeah, so that's that on these, and then the border that I got on mine was a torn page.
Torn page, I believe.
Yeah,
that's one that has the white bar right there.
Yeah,
too.
that's one that has the white bar right there too. It looks like a torn page, which is what it's supposed to look like. But we are in the process of looking at some stuff. Hopefully, we also got some shirts that are probably going to be looking at Monday to see what they look like, and we will definitely show you what they look like.
And if Monday. You end up wanting pictures and everything, what we'll do is we'll find out what we have to discuss for ourselves between what prices we'll do. But anybody that does order a picture, we will both sign the pictures or individually sign the pictures either way you want it. And if you want us to give you write a message out for you, just let us know. We'll be happy to do that. Also, anybody that wants a cameo, I've been thinking about it a lot. If you want us to do cameos for you, let us know. And we'd be happy to do that as far as for wish people happy birthdays or anything like that. We are fans of wrestling, fans of different TV shows, stuff like that. Before we get off here, I want to let you know there's a new TV show supposed to be coming on soon called NCIS Hawaii. And since Psycho Break doesn't really care for that too much, I'll be doing a review on that. He's going to do a review on some shows that he likes that I'm not that big a fan of. That way, we both have content coming out. So we on all of our channels every time.
Yeah, except for the Hawaii one is going to be on his Tojo.
Yeah.
So, the Tojo and stuff for the Becca Gaming, one of the two. Or he could do it on here if he wanted to. But yeah, so that's going to be some. So we got plenty of stuff that we got coming out in the works. So if there's some days or some weeks that we haven't streamed anything or do anything, we are trying to look at the long term and trying to get things going. But I think at 28 minutes, I think that's enough. Hill's review, both me and him gave it a 4. It's definitely worth taking a look at. But like I said, we're getting to the wire on this. And then after that, we can give an overall review, which when we do that will be 1 through 10 once we get done. Because we'll have to recap and watch all of them.
The whole season.
Yeah, because we'll try to watch the whole season.
And we are planning on doing a little trivia thing. We're going to give y'all some interesting facts that we found out before the season finale.
Yeah. Some good ones too. Just the fact that Stephen O'Mell after the first episode ended up breaking his back, which I did not know that.
Yep.
All right, guys. Remember to
break every chain.
Break every chain, guys.